Brunswick is world-renowned for its rivers and abundant wildlife. Each year, thousands of tourists are drawn here to explore the natural beauty of our coastal and rural environment. Together with residents of the province, they use an extensive system of roads and highways that pass through the habitat of wildlife, such as deer and moose. These animals can be exciting to see in the wild. However, they also pose a threat to motorists because there's always the possibility that a collision can occur at any time and when least expected. Between 1995 and the year 2000, on average, there were approximately 250 moose vehicle collisions per year on our provincial roadways. Many of those collisions resulted in serious injuries or sometimes death to vehicle occupants.
In New Brunswick, we have one of the highest densities of moose population in eastern Canada. As you can see from this graphic, mishaps can happen anywhere, although there are areas of the province where moose vehicle collisions are more likely to happen. Because of their large size, moose can be especially dangerous if a collision occurs. A mature cow will weigh nearly 400 kilograms, over 700 pounds. A mature bull will weigh nearly 550 kilograms. That's close to 1,200 pounds. The consequences of striking such a huge body mass can be devastating. Furthermore, because of their high center of gravity, moose pose an even greater risk if involved in a collision. The bottom of the chest is at least 3 feet or nearly a meter off the ground. Impact can easily cause the animal to be catapulted off the ground into the windshield or hood area of most vehicles, causing serious driver and passenger injury.
Vehicle-animal collisions can occur suddenly and at any time or anywhere within the province. However, there are certain times of the day when collisions with large animals, such as deer and moose, are more likely to happen. These animals are most active at dusk and dawn. Drivers should be extra cautious at those times and also during the night, when moose especially are difficult to see because they are dark-colored with eyes that do not reflect light like those of a deer. Moose and deer collisions are also more likely to occur at certain times of the year. For deer, this happens in June, July, and in October, November, around the time of the rut or breeding season. These 4 months account for 49% of yearly collisions. For moose, the risk for collision extends from May to October, with a distinct peak in June when they feed on roadside vegetation and when insects drive them out of the woods and onto the highways. This 6-month time frame accounts for 89% of yearly collisions. Driver inattention and speeds in excess of 80 kilometers or 50 miles per hour also increase the risk of a sudden collision. Under conditions of poor visibility at night or when it's raining or foggy, you should drive at a speed consistent with how far you can see by your headlights, allowing time for reaction if something appears on the road. It's important to remember that a collision can occur at any time, anywhere, and under any circumstances. So, pay attention and stay alert because it can happen to you. Moose and deer are unpredictable. They don't have any control over situations that could lead to a collision, so it's up to the driver to be alert and ready.
Collision with a 70 kilogram or 150 pound deer can cause serious damage, but hitting a moose that weighs almost half a ton, that could be overwhelming. Moose can be nearly 2 meters or over 6 feet tall and have a very high center of gravity. For this reason, drivers and passengers alike are at high risk when hitting such a large animal.
It can be a challenge driving in areas where contact with large animals may occur. However, there is a 5-step process for dealing with potential vehicle-animal collisions that could save your life. Step number 1. Slow down and search the road and off-road area as far ahead as you can for information that will help you plan a path of travel. If there is a passenger in the vehicle, ask that person to stay alert to the off-road conditions ahead to assist you in watching for any telltale signs. Step number 2. Stay alert and identify objects or conditions ahead that could interfere with your planned path of travel, such as deer and moose on the roadside or on the roadway. Step number 3. Predict what actions or changes in conditions on or near the road could increase the level of risk, such as the animal being suddenly frightened, which might cause it to bolt into your path. Step number 4. Decide how best to minimize the risk of an injury, either by reducing or increasing your speed, or by steering and braking simultaneously to change the angle of impact, if a collision can't be avoided. This should be done 4 to 5 seconds before anticipated contact. And finally, step number 5. Execute your decision. When driving at night, use extreme caution and observe the signage when passing through moose zones. Drive within the confines of the distance you can see by your headlights, allowing appropriate response time to react to the unforeseen. Always maintain your headlights for optimum effect and illumination by keeping them clean while having them checked and adjusted periodically. As well, remain on the lookout for animals and telltale signs by the roadside, and use your high beams at all times when not approaching oncoming traffic. Look for the reflecting eyes of deer, and remember those high-risk zones. If one animal crosses the road in front of you, slow down, because there's probably another following. As mentioned already, moose are extremely difficult to see at night. They are large, dark animals with eyes that don't reflect light. If you do encounter a moose standing on the road, do not attempt to go around it. Stay in your vehicle. Never get out to observe or chase the animal off the road, because a moose is unpredictable and could put you or other drivers at risk. Wildlife, if frightened or disoriented, may attack, so the best practice is to give lots of room and allow an animal to wander back into the woods. Watch for signs. Deer and moose warning signs are placed on roadsides for our safety. If you see a sign, it was placed there for a good reason. Use common sense. Always wear a seatbelt and stay alert. If a crash with a large animal is imminent, apply the brakes, steer straight, and let up on the brakes just prior to impact. This will cause the front end of the vehicle to lift higher, reducing the risk of the animal catapulting onto the hood or through the windshield. Hitting an animal as large as a moose, just a few inches higher on its body, can mean the difference between life and death.
If you're involved in a motor vehicle animal collision, there's a few things that you need to know. First of all crashes involving property damage and personal injuries have to be reported to police authorities. If you must leave the crash area to call for help, make note of where the crash took place using landmarks or signage as a guide. This will help authorities to find the location and assess the situation. Third, do not attempt to move the animal. Wait for the authorities to arrive. Deer, and especially moose, can be very heavy and may still be alive and able to inflict further injuries. If still alive, you shouldn't approach the animal on your own.
Remember, moose are especially dangerous due to their size and unpredictability. Drivers should be aware that collisions can happen anywhere and at any time. Although technological innovations like electric fencing can help reduce accidents, ultimately the onus is always on the driver to stay alert and to be prepared for the unexpected. It's especially important to exercise greater caution in high-density zones as indicated by highway signage, and in particular during those times of year already mentioned, May to October for moose, early summer and fall for deer. Animals are most likely to be seen along roadsides at these times. Also, remember that the hours between sunset and sunrise are high-risk times when you should be particularly alert. Drive slowly in rain, fog, and other reduced visibility conditions, including darkness. And make sure your headlights are in optimum working condition. If we all follow these simple rules of the road and keep on the alert for wildlife, our highways will be safer places for travel and for enjoying New Brunswick's scenic drives and natural beauty.